Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, the What If guy, back with another fanfiction. This is the first part of What If Issei was Red Dragon Empress. Now before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. Issei was panting heavily, finally feeling the weight of his actions. He stumbled slightly and called out to Trihexa, who responded with a calm acknowledgement. Issei wondered what the others would think of him, and Trihexa, with a hint of sadness, admitted they would be devastated. Issei understood the gravity of the situation. The stress from the soul fragments had taken a toll on his body, leading to his impending demise. Trihexa explained that Issei was dying from the effects of using too much power. Issei, trying to lighten the mood, joked about wanting to cry too, but he felt comforted knowing he would not be alone in his final moments. Trihexa reassured him that he would not leave him, expressing gratitude for how Issei had treated him as a living being rather than just a tool. Issei reflected on their journey together, realizing that he had come to see Trihexa as a brother. Just then, silhouettes began to appear around them, and Issei acknowledged the gravity of his situation. He sensed that his time was running out and felt a mix of acceptance and sorrow. Rias and the others rushed to his side, alarmed by his condition. Zizel and Surzex exchanged worried glances, understanding that the aftereffects of the soul fragments were taking a severe toll on Issei. Akino and Ajuka joined in, expressing their concern, but the reality was grim. Issei's body was disintegrating, and there was no way to save him. Trihexa, frustrated by the chaos around them, urged everyone to stop arguing and focus on Issei. Instead of bickering, they should be comforting him in his final moments. Issei, ever the understanding one, reassured Trihexa that it was natural for them to react this way. Grafia suggested they should comfort Issei instead of arguing, and as his condition worsened, Issei requested to be stood up. With the help of his friends, he managed to stand, expressing gratitude even in his weakened state. He asked for a group hug, wanting to feel the warmth of his friends one last time. After sharing a heartfelt embrace, Issei took a moment to say his goodbyes. He urged his girlfriends to move on and not to feel sad when remembering him. He wished they could have shared more time together, especially a wedding, but he accepted that this was the end. As Issei's body began to turn to dust, he reassured everyone that they would be fine without him. He took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and felt the warmth of the sun shining down as he faded away. His friends promised to be okay, and with a final farewell, Issei embraced his fate. As his essence flowed through the air, he found himself alongside Trihexa and a new presence, the soul fragment of Albion. They were on a journey through the multiverse, hinting at new beginnings and adventures to come. In a different universe, a woman named Aimi was holding a baby in her arms. Kaito, the father, entered the room and marveled at their child, noticing the resemblance to both parents. The scene shifted, hinting at the future and the adventures that awaited in this new world. Kaito expressed his concern about their daughter's hair, insisting it was just a bit messy at times. Aimi chuckled, acknowledging that it did tend to get messy when touched. They then turned their attention to naming their daughter. Aimi suggested the name Isabella, which Kaito found to have a lovely ring to it. They both agreed that Isabella was their sweet and beautiful daughter, as the little one rustled slightly before falling back asleep. 7 years later, on August 16, 2036, at 9:08 p.m., a voice cried out for help, calling for parents in distress. The voice was filled with confusion and anger, demanding to know what had been done to them. The response was chilling, revealing that power had been given to protect others, but it had come at a terrible cost. The figure responsible for this transformation was about to leave when the voice pleaded for them to stay. The unknown figure grabbed Isabella by the throat, taunting her about their potential friendship that had been shattered by her attack. With a swift motion, they threw her aside, leaving her barely conscious. The figure declared they would reclaim the power when the time was right and bid her farewell, as Isabella struggled to call them back, feeling a surge of fire and chaos around her. The next morning, on August 17, 2036, at 7:26 a.m., Isabella fluttered her eyes open, disoriented and unsure of her surroundings. She quickly recalled her previous distress and felt a sense of urgency about her parents. A voice warned her not to act hastily, and she demanded to know who was speaking. The voice introduced itself as Elliot, accompanied by his assistant, Karen. They explained that she was at Ratatosker, an organization dedicated to dealing with spirits peacefully. Isabella learned that her biology had changed over the years, leading to her current state as a spirit. Elliot and Karen explained that they had detected spiritual energy radiating from her, particularly at night. Isabella was shocked to learn that this had been happening for 6 years and 2 months. She questioned whether Ratatosker was stalking people, but Elliot clarified that was not the case. He explained that they were a government-formed organization managed by him and Karen, who gathered information to help spirits. When Isabella asked about her parents, the atmosphere grew tense. Elliot urged her to promise to move on before revealing the truth. Isabella nodded, though she trembled with fear. Elliot expressed his sorrow for her loss, and Isabella's eyes widened in shock as tears began to flow. Overwhelmed with grief, she vowed to make the one responsible pay, declaring her intent to become stronger and find them. In a surge of power, she activated her boosted gear, but soon collapsed, leaving Elliot and Karen concerned as they rushed to her side. As Karen took Isabella to the medical bay, Elliot pondered the implications of her abilities. He sensed a powerful presence and heard a voice that warned him not to mistake it for an angel. He looked around, feeling the weight of the moment. In Isabella's mindscape, flames erupted, revealing a menacing figure with red eyes. The dragon-like silhouette introduced itself as Ydre, the Red Dragon Emperor, claiming Isabella as its host and jokingly referring to her as a sister. Isabella, confused by this revelation, learned that they were partners once again, though it seemed she was early for their reunion. What happened to the first one? Drake explained that since this was all in the past, he wanted her to think of him as a normal person. To answer her question, he summarized that she had fought a very powerful opponent, and although they had won, it had come at the cost of their lives. She had said her goodbyes to everyone, and now they were here. Isabella understood. Drake noted that she was taking this surprisingly well, as expected from the strongest wielder of the boosted gear. She wondered why he was speaking to her now. Drake suggested that her anger towards Mio Takamiya had triggered the boosted gear, allowing them to communicate. Issei, now Isabella, learned that Drake was not her angel. He had been with her in her past life and had chosen to stay with her. He mentioned that another dragon was present but currently asleep, encouraging her to grow stronger. Isabella asked if he had a training regimen for her. Drake did, suggesting she perform exercises like a normal human and meditate to enhance her mental endurance and physical strength. He offered that she could come to him in her dreams for training. Determined, Isabella expressed her need to grow stronger to defeat Mio Takamiya and avenge her parents. Drake praised her determination but advised her not to let her emotions control her, as it could lead to danger. Isabella promised she wouldn't die not yet. Drake reassured her that if push came to shove, he could assist her. She thanked him, calling him Nichan, which surprised him. Isabella pointed out that he had referred to her as his sister, so it made sense. Drake asked if she had anything else to say, and she declared that once everything was over, she would set both dragons free. Drake appreciated her commitment, thanking her for keeping her promise even in another life. Isabella acknowledged it was time for her to wake up. Drake encouraged her to go and make an impact. She affirmed that she definitely would. In the Ratatosker facility on September 15, 2036, at 9:55 a.m., Isabella was being observed by Elliot and Karen as she trained. She was pushing herself hard, insisting that she needed to train harder. Elliot suggested she take a break, stating that overtraining was unhealthy. Karen agreed, urging her to rest. Isabella, however, expressed her distrust towards them, stating that just because she had joined Ratatosker didn't mean she trusted them completely. Karen asked when she would trust them, to which Isabella replied that she would if they did her a favor. Elliot and Karen exchanged nervous glances, wondering what favor she would ask. Isabella requested to be put under cryostasis. Both Elliot and Karen were taken aback, with Elliot stating that what she was asking was impossible. Isabella insisted it was possible, given the year. Karen warned her against it, but Isabella maintained that without their cooperation, She saw no reason to trust them. Elliot then asked what she thought going into cryostasis would do to her body. Isabella, though young, confidently explained that it would allow her to meditate without her brain shutting down and that she could physically change by training in her mindscape. Elliot questioned whether her body could undergo changes while in cryostasis, but Isabella countered that she was not just a human. Elliot conceded her point, and Karen suggested that it could indeed be possible for Isabella to undergo changes while in cryostasis. Isabella felt vindicated, and Elliot agreed to prepare the cryostasis machine by midnight, asking when she wanted to be awakened. Isabella requested to be woken up when they were ready to introduce someone to her. Elliot warned her that she wouldn't see them for a while, to which Isabella confidently declared that she was born ready. Later that evening at 11:50 p.m., Isabella was drying her hair after a bath. She called out to Drake, asking what her training regimen would be while she was in cryostasis. Drake replied that it was hard to say, but he would enhance her old training regimen. Isabella playfully reacted to the idea of straight into torture. "How fun," Isabella thought sarcastically. Drake responded that it wasn't really fun at all. They would take it slow, and they could work together when she got used to it. He jokingly suggested starting in the most painful way possible to make it easier. Isabella, feeling nervous, expressed that she didn't want to die while on ice, reminding him that she was only 7 years old. Drake reassured her that he was just joking about the last part, though he noted that she took it like a real dragon, considering her past life. Isabella mused that she must have been very cool back then. Drake agreed, saying she became cool when her attitude changed, at least in some people's eyes. Curious, Isabella asked what she was like before that change. Drake bluntly stated that she had been a massive pervert. Isabella was taken aback, and Drake confirmed his statement, leaving her speechless. He urged her to snap back to reality, and she hesitantly inquired just how much of a pervert she had been. Drake explained that she had been fixated on thoughts that were inappropriate, regardless of size. Relieved that she wasn't a pervert anymore, Isabella declared that she still needed to learn like a normal child. She asked Drake to teach her both fighting and educational subjects. Drake agreed, promising to explain the secrets of the boosted gear. Just then, there was a knock at the door, and Isabella invited the person in, telling Drake they would talk later. Drake said goodbye as she cut off their communication. Elliot entered and asked if she had been talking to someone. Isabella confirmed it was Drake and mentioned she would explain everything when she woke up from cryostasis. Elliot accepted her decision, and Karen confirmed that it was indeed time to go. Isabella expressed her readiness to proceed. They walked to the cryostasis area, which was massive, with a capsule at its center where Isabella would be placed. Elliot and Karen noticed she was shaking, and Karen asked if she was all right. Isabella insisted she was fine, but Elliot pointed out that she was clearly not. Isabella admitted she was nervous about being separated from them. Karen questioned why she felt that way, recalling that Isabella had previously claimed not to trust them. Isabella clarified that she had been joking and explained that she trusted them for taking her in and caring for her like parents. Both Elliot and Karen were surprised by her words. Isabella reflected on how strange it must be for humans to raise a spirit like her. Suddenly, Karen hugged Isabella tightly, assuring her that it was not strange to raise someone like her. She acknowledged Isabella's loss and expressed their desire to comfort her, even if it meant becoming her second family. Elliot joined in the hug, expressing that despite not having a child, she fit the role of his own daughter. Overwhelmed with emotion, Isabella began to cry, questioning why they accepted her so easily despite her potential to hurt them. Elliot gently explained that she was still a child who deserved love. As Isabella cried, Drake, in her mind, felt relieved that someone cared for her. He encouraged her to let it all out, promising to be there for her. Isabella apologized for her past behavior, admitting she had struggled to trust anyone but realized the importance of opening her heart to those she could trust. Elliot reassured her that it was all right, and Karen added that there was no need to apologize as long as she was okay. Isabella vowed to protect them one day, and they reminded her not to overwork herself and to rest when needed. As they prepared the machine, Isabella entered the capsule, and a worker confirmed it was ready. Isabella declared she was ready, and Elliot instructed to start the process. As the capsule began to close, Isabella called out to Elliot and Karen, referring to them as her father and mother. Both Elliot and Karen were taken aback, and the worker felt a warmth from the wholesome scene as they all watched Isabella enter the frozen state, shedding tears of their own. I hope all of you stay safe and healthy. Location, Ratatosker. 038-2048. 3:17 a.m. A worker noted that all signs were normal, but they would conduct a double check on Ms. Isabella's vital signs. Elliot acknowledged this. The worker continued, stating that her heart rate and brain waves were normal, while her blood pressure was elevated due to the cold, but she would be fine once she felt warmth. The worker reported that Isabella was in good condition, but after being in cryostasis for 12 years, she would need to relearn how to walk and speak. She would require constant care and monitoring for the first week. Elliot expressed his gratitude. Karen, filled with emotion, remarked that they would finally see their adoptive daughter again. Elliot agreed, mentioning that they had also encountered a spirit similar to her. Karen reflected that their daughter was not alone in the world, and Elliot emphasized the need to care for and teach her before introducing her to the spirit. Karen hoped they would start off on good terms, to which Elliot shared the same hope, though he worried about Coterie potentially annoying Isabella. Karen wished for Isabella to have matured during her time away. Elliot instructed the workers to wake Isabella. The capsule opened, releasing cold air and revealing a grown-up Isabella inside. The worker noted that Isabella had undergone physical changes while in cryostasis. Elliot was astonished, and Karen confirmed that Isabella's spirit biology had allowed her growth process to continue despite being frozen. As Isabella stirred awake for the first time in 12 years, she quickly fell back asleep due to her body's adjustment. The worker remarked on the unexpected nature of her brief awakening, calling it an incredible feat. Elliot ordered Isabella to be taken to the medical bay for treatment and to contact the best doctors for monitoring. Karen decided to accompany them to watch over Isabella, while Elliot planned to join them shortly. After 12 hours, the beeping of monitors filled the room. Elliot urged Karen to rest, but she insisted on waiting to see Isabella awake. Just then, Isabella mumbled about needing 5 more minutes, catching both Elliot and Karen off guard. Elliot quickly called the workers and doctors to assist. After some time, Isabella finally woke up and expressed confusion about her surroundings. Elliot greeted her, asking how she felt. Isabella responded that she felt fine but a bit numb in some areas. Elliot laughed, noting they had much to catch up on, including relearning how to walk. Isabella expressed disbelief, leading Karen to inquire about a name she mentioned, Drake. Isabella hesitated, suggesting that explaining might make her seem crazy, but she indicated that Drake would do the talking when the time was right. Karen asked how long it would take before they could meet Drake, and Isabella replied it depended on her recovery speed. Elliot suggested they catch up in the meantime, acknowledging that it had been 12 years since they last saw each other. Isabella eagerly agreed. Location: 04-10-2048. 16. Hyoudou was roused from sleep by his sister, Coterie, in a rather startling manner. She playfully asked what was wrong, and Hyoudou complained about her weight as she jumped onto him. Coterie giggled at his reaction, and he groaned in annoyance, covering himself with a blanket. Coterie urged him to wake up, and Hyoudou jokingly warned her about the T-virus, which would compel him to tickle her if she didn't let him sleep for another 10 minutes. Coterie, feigning fear, backed away, and Hyoudou playfully jumped out to scare her again. After a moment of playful banter, Hyoudou reassured Coterie that there was nothing to fear. She sighed in relief and smiled, returning to her usual cheerful demeanor. Location: Ratatosker. Elliot approached Isabella, apologizing for interrupting her meditation. She was floating, surrounded by a crimson aura and green particles, exuding a calm focus. Isabella expressed her preference for talking to her parents rather than meditating, suggesting they inform her via voicemail instead. Elliot offered to help her with a wheelchair for easier movement, but Isabella redirected the conversation, asking what he wanted to discuss. Elliot invited her to accompany him and Karen to the Fraxinus, an airborne ship. Isabella recalled hearing about it from her mother and expressed curiosity about meeting the young commander, who was 5 years her junior but a capable leader. Elliot encouraged her to join them, noting that her physique could serve as an asset. Isabella questioned the significance of her physique, leaving the conversation open for further exploration. Isabella had not looked in the mirror for a few weeks. When she finally did, she was amazed at her reflection. She thought to herself that she looked stunning, and if she were someone else, she would date herself. Isabella had a fit physique, not like a bodybuilder, but what one would expect from a person who trained regularly. She remarked to Drake that it seemed her training had paid off. Drake confirmed her observation with enthusiasm. Elliot greeted Drake, expressing his gratitude for accepting Isabella as a person all those years ago. Isabella felt a rush of warmth from the compliment but quickly refocused on the conversation. Elliot reassured her that regardless of her form, spirit, human, or dragon, she still deserved love. Drake mentioned that he needed time to recover his strength, even as a dragon, and ended the communication. Isabella waved goodbye to Drake, and Elliot turned to her with a question about joining him. Isabella expressed her desire for fresh air and her wish to protect both of them, unlike the last time. Elliot comforted her, reminding her that she could protect them now but should never forget the past, as it shaped who she was. Isabella acknowledged her father's words, reflecting on her memories with her biological parents. She missed them dearly and inquired about their departure. Elliot suggested they leave immediately, expressing curiosity about her spirit form, which she had not accessed in years. Isabella admitted it was still unstable despite her training. Elliot advised her to bring only what she needed and promised to meet her at the front. In a different scene, at the Itsuka household in Tengu City, a news reporter reported a small spacequake that had occurred nearby, causing only minor damage and no injuries. Shido cracked some eggs and prepared breakfast while reflecting on the history of spacequakes that had plagued their area since a great disaster 30 years ago. He recalled how spacequakes had been on the rise in recent years, particularly in Japan. As he cooked, he asked Kotori if she wanted bacon, and she agreed. Shido noted the frequency of spacequakes lately, prompting Kotori to suggest they might need to adjust their plans. Shido, eager to enjoy breakfast, encouraged her to eat well. Kotori expressed her affection for him and requested a special lunch, but Shido explained that it wasn't available. They walked through the streets together, with Kotori excited about lunch at a diner. Shido reminded her to keep her promise to meet after school, even in the event of a spacequake. As they parted, some onlookers commented on their close relationship, which they found unusual. Shido encountered Tanamachi, who greeted him warmly and mentioned the rumors about him. Tanamachi pointed out a girl with white hair and blue eyes, whom he referred to as Super Genius. Shido was surprised to learn that she knew his name. Tanamachi explained that she was Tabichi Origami, the top student in their year, and a beauty. As class began, their homeroom teacher, Okamine Taimi, introduced herself, and the students applauded. Shido pondered why Tabichi was aware of him and what her intentions might be. "What is it that you want from me?" Location: the school where Kotori goes to. 9:45 a.m. Kotori gazed out the window, lost in thought while her classmates chatted amongst themselves. Suddenly, a teacher entered the classroom. The teacher instructed everyone to settle down, and the students returned to their seats, focusing on the unexpected announcement. The teacher acknowledged that they were not the regular instructor for the class but had important news to share. They explained that there would be no school for the next 2 weeks due to the government's recommendation to suspend classes because of the recent occurrences of spacequakes. The safety of the students was the priority, and they were dismissed to gather their belongings. As the students packed up, Kotori received a call. She answered, curious about the caller's identity. It was Kanazuki, who informed her that Elliot and Karen were present and wanted to see her. Kotori was taken aback, realizing the significance of their visit. She asked if there was anything else, and Kanazuki mentioned a young woman, appearing to be around 17 to 19 years old, who was also requesting her presence. Kotori instructed him to tell them to wait as she was on her way. After a brief moment, Kotori gathered her things and prepared to leave. Isabella observed the tea that Rain had made, complimenting its incredible taste. Rain expressed her gratitude, and Isabella introduced herself, hoping for a positive relationship moving forward. Elliot, noticing the budding friendship, asked if Isabella had made a new friend. She confirmed that she had and was fond of Rain. Karen advised her to make wise decisions, reminding her of the potential consequences. Kanazuki announced Kotori's arrival, and she playfully dismissed the exaggeration. Kanazuki couldn't help but express how adorable Kotori was, leading Isabella to understand a new term. Kotori introduced herself, and Elliot praised her improved social skills since their last meeting. Karen inquired about the maintenance of the Fraxinus, and Kotori assured her that it was in top condition, as it served as a fortress for Ratatosker. Elliot then revealed that he wanted Kotori to meet someone special, a fellow spirit. Kotori's surprise was evident as she learned that they had taken in this spirit 12 years ago after a significant incident. Elliot introduced their adoptive daughter, Isabella Woodman Mathers, who stood and shared her story, explaining that she was once human. She looked at Kotori and noted their shared experience as spirits. Kotori was puzzled, having always believed she was a spirit. Isabella offered to explain her situation, acknowledging that she had been in cryostasis for 12 years. Kotori listened attentively as Isabella asked if she had heard of a sapphire gem, explaining that it was the life source of spirits. Isabella elaborated that the gem reacts to individuals with a strong affinity, particularly women, granting them spirit abilities. However, there was an unexplored aspect of the gem that could be triggered by intense emotions. Kotori pondered how Isabella knew so much about it, leading Isabella to mention the spirit of origin. Her demeanor shifted, revealing a deeper intensity. Kotori recalled hearing about the spirit of origin's connection to the spacequakes that began 30 years prior. Isabella's hand trembled slightly, and she calmed herself before revealing that she had been the first person to receive a sapphire gem, possibly one of the strongest. Kotori was intrigued and confused, seeking clarification. Elliot explained that Isabella had been the source of the information they had provided to Kotori about spirits over the years. Kotori realized that Isabella had been guiding her understanding all along. Elliot then asked if Kotori remembered the spirit responsible for the events of August 16th. Kotori confirmed the details she had read in the book provided to her. Elliot clarified that the spirit known as the Red Dragon Empress had instilled fear but had not caused any fatalities, only property damage. Kotori was left wondering about the true nature of this spirit. Isabella and Kotori both recognized the red gauntlet adorned with a green orb and yellow spikes. Kotori asked Isabella how she knew about it, and Elliot began to explain something to Kotori. Isabella then declared herself the Red Dragon Empress. The boosted gear appeared on Isabella's right arm, looking different from what Kotori and Isabella had described. Isabella confirmed that this was the gauntlet they were discussing. The crew of the Fraxinus was shocked to realize that the spirit from 12 years ago was none other than Isabella. She explained that she was born with the boosted gear, but only managed to awaken it with the help of the sapphire gem given to her. In truth, she had never seen or obtained her angel, but relied on her own powers. Kotori inquired if Isabella had seen her astral dress, to which Isabella replied that she had, but it had been modified by the boosted gear. Kotori then asked how the boosted gear worked. Isabella began her explanation, noting that before it was called the boosted gear, it was known as twice critical, a weaker version that only doubled the user's stats. Elliot found this fascinating and encouraged Isabella to continue. Isabella explained that to evolve twice critical into the boosted gear, a strong sense of will or immense strength was required. The easiest way to achieve this evolution was through sheer will or desire. She described the boosted gear as being in its first stage, which only displayed a green orb that covered her hand and arm. Karen asked how many stages there were, and Isabella replied that there were many forms, but she had so far obtained 3. Kotori was curious about how Isabella obtained the 3rd stage. Isabella revealed that the boosted gear announced, "Boosted gear, second liberation." However, she admitted that she did not achieve this 3rd evolution through sheer will or desire, but rather through intense rage, a desire that was determined yet controlled by her anger. Kotori then asked what had caused Isabella to feel such anger at that time. Isabella hesitated, and Karen interjected, suggesting they discuss it another time. Isabella finally revealed that it was the spirit of origin that had given her the sapphire gem under the pretense of protecting the world. However, she confessed that she had harmed innocents, including her own parents, under the illusion that they were monsters. After defeating them, they would revert back to their human forms. Kotori regretted bringing it up, but Isabella reassured her that it reminded her of what she truly fought for, to protect the innocent, no matter the cost. As Elliot glanced at his watch, he noted that it was almost 11:30 a.m., and he and Karen needed to leave for important matters. He asked Isabella if she would be joining them, and she decided to stay a little longer to interact with Kotori. Kotori complimented Isabella, who returned the sentiment. Karen announced that they would take their leave, and Elliot expressed hope that everyone would help Isabella feel at home on the Fraxinus. Karen then released a menacing aura, warning everyone to treat Isabella well, and the crew shivered in response. After Elliot and Karen departed, Isabella turned to Kotori and asked what she wanted to talk about. Kotori mentioned her brother and eagerly began to share details. She explained that her brother's name was Itsuka Hyoudou, that he was 16 years old, and only 2 years older than her. Isabella learned that Hyoudou had been adopted into Kotori's family and that his original name was Shinji Takemiya. Upon hearing the name, Isabella subconsciously activated her astral dress. Kotori noticed something was wrong and expressed concern for Isabella. Dreig urged Isabella to control herself, reminding her that Hyoudou was just an innocent boy, despite his connection to her past. Isabella struggled with her emotions but ultimately recognized Dreig's wisdom, apologizing for her outburst. Dreig advised her to apologize to Kotori and to put away her weapon. Isabella complied, expressing her regret and asking for Kotori's forgiveness. Kotori reassured her that there was no need to apologize but expressed curiosity about the reason for Isabella's earlier anger. Isabella thanked her but stated she would share the details when the time was right. She then put away her weapon, and the boosted gear vanished in a green light. Kotori suggested they have lunch, and Isabella happily agreed. The two spirits, along with the crew, then enjoyed their meal together. Location: Tengu City. 04/10/2048. 12 p.m. Third POV. The clock struck 12 p.m. as the bell chimed to signal lunchtime. Tonkmaki suggested that they go home together. Hyoudou apologized, explaining that he already had plans. Tonkmaki inquired if it was with a girl. Hyoudou clarified that it was just with Kotori. Tonkmaki remarked that, based on his observations, no girl would choose to have lunch with Hyoudou. Hyoudou felt that was going too far. Suddenly, the spacequake alarm began to sound. The announcer warned that a spacequake had been detected in the area. Hyoudou expressed concern about the warning. Tonkmaki asked if a quake was coming. The announcer reiterated the urgency, instructing everyone to evacuate to the nearest shelter. Hyoudou suggested they find a shelter, noting that they should be safe in the school's bunker. Tabichi stood up and left immediately, prompting Hyoudou and Tonkmaki to follow. Hyoudou called out to Tabichi. Location? In a dark room, a screen displayed spiritual energy. A mysterious figure spoke in a language unknown, expressing excitement that something was arriving. Location: Tengu City. The announcer repeated the warning about the spacequake, urging evacuation. The entrance to the shelter closed and descended underground. Tammy attempted to calm everyone, reminding them of the 3 S's: single file, single line, skeletons. Tonkmaki told her to calm down, and she acknowledged his advice. Hyoudou thought about Kotori, hoping she had found a shelter as well. He recalled her promise that he had to come even if there was a spacequake. Worried, he checked her GPS to ensure she was safe. Hyoudou's phone beeped, revealing Kotori's location, and he felt a surge of anxiety upon seeing her crouched and holding her head. Determined, he started running. Tonkmaki called out to him. Hyoudou raced through the streets, gasping for breath as warning signs flashed around him. He recalled Kotori's declaration of love for him, which pushed him to run even faster. Frustrated, he questioned why she was waiting for him when the city was in chaos. A mysterious figure observed the area, noting its impending destruction and expressing disbelief that a human was present instead of in a shelter. Recognizing Hyoudou, the figure called for Drake. Hyoudou paused, hearing a voice warning him not to approach a certain area. He looked around but saw no one. Frustrated, he continued running, calling out for Kotori. As he turned a corner, a spacequake struck, causing him to stumble. A voice commanded a barrier, and missiles aimed at Hyoudou and the girl in purple were intercepted. The girl in purple, seemingly unfazed, taunted her attackers, expressing disappointment in their efforts. A woman with crimson hair and dragon-like features appeared, interrupting the confrontation. She revealed herself as a spirit and warned the girl in purple not to harm Hyoudou. The girl in purple questioned her intentions, and the woman confirmed her identity as a spirit as well. Just then, a white-haired girl launched an attack at the woman in red, but it had no effect. The woman in red remained unscathed, unimpressed by the assault. She challenged the white-haired girl to try again, promising to retaliate in return. The tension escalated as the white-haired girl prepared for another attack. Then it was her turn. The woman in red vanished in an instant, leaving the white-haired girl clutching her stomach in pain. The woman in red reappeared, having landed a blow that pushed the girl further into the debris. She felt a twinge of remorse but continued her assault, pushing the girl onto the debris before leaping away just in time to avoid being crushed. With a sigh, the woman in red expressed her regret for hurting a human, casting a protective barrier around the unconscious girl. She whispered an apology, shedding a tear before disappearing once more. Meanwhile, the girls in gray armor began their assault on the girl in purple armor. The girl in purple, filled with a sense of futility, leaped into the air, effortlessly destroying the missiles that approached her. Hyoudou observed her strength and despondent expression, pondering her situation. The girl in purple declared that it was over, conjuring spiritual energy onto her sword and forming an X, forcing the others to defend themselves. A bright explosion engulfed the area, and Hyoudou found himself caught in the light. In an unknown location, a voice spoke, revealing a tracking issue. Hyoudou was confused, unsure of what was happening. The voice continued, expressing happiness at their reunion and promising not to make the same mistakes again. A light pierced Hyoudo's eye, prompting him to sit up abruptly. Rain, the analysis officer, informed him that he was in the Fraxinus med bay, where they had brought him while he was unconscious. Hyoudou recalled the battle and his concern for his little sister, Kotori, who had gone outside a diner. Rain reassured him that she was fine but mentioned that the commander would provide more information. As they walked toward the main brig, they heard commotion. Isabella was in distress, calling for Kotori to contact their parents. A draconic voice accompanied her cries, demanding immediate action. Kotori, along with Kanazuki, rushed to assist Isabella, who was in severe pain. Hyoudou and Rain entered to find Isabella in a state of agony. Kanazuki assured them he would inform the commander while Isabella transformed into her spirit form, enveloped in a protective aura. Kotori instructed everyone to help move Isabella to the medical bay before their parents arrived. As they carried Isabella, her condition worsened, and she expressed her need for medical attention. Kanazuki suggested anesthetics, but Isabella explained that they wouldn't work due to her draconic features. Hyoudou proposed finding an alternative medicine, and Isabella confirmed there was one, mentioning experiments conducted on her by Ratatosker. They finally reached the medical bay, where professional doctors were waiting. Kotori instructed them to lay Isabella on the bed carefully, and just in time, the doctors arrived with Elliot and Karen, Isabella's parents. Karen was frantic, shaking Kotori for answers, but Elliot urged her to calm down and let Kotori explain. As introductions were made, Hyoudou realized that Kotori was the commander of the Fraxinus, which surprised him. In another location, Origami struggled to stay conscious, feeling immense pain. Captain Kyuzokabe urged her to save her strength, assuring her that she had fought a powerful spirit. As Origami lost consciousness, Kyuzokabe ordered her to be taken to the medics, realizing the spirit in red armor was a formidable opponent. Back on the Fraxinus, Kotori explained the situation regarding the spirits and their recent loss, showing an image of the destruction caused by the spirit in purple. Hyoudou interrupted, seeking clarification amidst the chaos. For now, Hyoudou was given the unusual request to lick someone's feet, which left him with an annoyed and confused expression. Kanazuki was surprised, asking if it was true, only to be interrupted by Kotori, who punched him and clarified that she was not referring to him. Kanazuki expressed gratitude, albeit in a flustered manner. Hyoudou then recognized Kotori, questioning her identity. She teased him about forgetting her face, suggesting that he might need to look for a retirement home due to his poor memory. Shido was puzzled about their current situation and location. Kotori assured him they would explain later but emphasized that the first thing he needed to understand was that she was a spirit. A zoomed-out image of the spirit and the crater appeared, with Kotori explaining that spirits were beings that did not originally exist in this world and often caused explosions upon their arrival. Shido was taken aback by this revelation, struggling to comprehend the implications. Suddenly, a commotion erupted as someone shouted to be let go. Despite being urged to rest, the individual insisted on moving, declaring her identity as a dragon. Kotori called out to Isabella, urging her to rest, but Isabella was determined to keep going. She then turned her attention to Shido, asking for his name. He introduced himself, and Isabella was surprised to learn he was Kotori's brother. Isabella complimented Shido's looks, causing Kotori to blush and protest that such comments were inappropriate in the current situation. Isabella playfully insisted that siblings should love each other, but then she clutched her head in discomfort, calling out to Drake. A red gauntlet formed on her arm, and Drake reassured her that it was just a weapon manifesting, one she had used before. Isabella acknowledged the need for a weapon, but before she could continue, she fainted, succumbing to a fever. Shido caught her just in time, and doctors arrived to take her back to the medical bay. Rain praised Shido for his quick thinking, but Shido was left wondering who Isabella truly was. Kotori decided to explain Isabella's background, focusing on her records as a spirit. She revealed that Isabella was considered a significant threat and mentioned the Red Dragon Empress. Shido's eyes widened at the name, and Kotori confirmed that Isabella was indeed that spirit, clarifying that much of what he had heard about her was incorrect. Shido was shocked to learn that Isabella had been neutral toward humans but would defend herself if threatened. Kotori explained that organizations like AST and DEM were monitoring her, with intentions to capture or eliminate her. Shido was horrified at the thought of someone wanting to kill Isabella. Rain elaborated on AST, revealing it stood for Anti-Spirit Team, a secret unit of wizards that used violence against spirits to prevent them from escaping. Kotori shared that Isabella had once fought one of the strongest wizards in the world when she was only 7 years old. As they discussed Isabella's past, a file from 12 years ago came into focus, detailing an encounter with a wizard named Ellen Mira Mathers, who had been sent to eliminate Isabella. Despite the threat, Isabella expressed a desire to live a normal life, and when the confrontation escalated, she revealed her determination to fight back. With a surge of power, Isabella transformed, her appearance shifting into a form adorned with draconic armor. The battle commenced, and as the Bandersnatchers attacked, Isabella effortlessly countered their moves, showcasing her strength. The tide turned in her favor, leaving Ellen bewildered as her minions fell apart. Isabella declared her victory, leaving Ellen furious and humiliated. The confrontation ended with a clash of metal, leaving the outcome uncertain, but Isabella's resilience shone through as she faced her opponent with confidence. Isabella found herself in an unfamiliar place, her surroundings unclear. She looked around, calling out softly, hoping for a response, but silence enveloped her. Panic began to rise as she called for her brother, Drake, but still received no answer. Confusion filled her mind as she wondered what was happening. Suddenly, a house appeared before her, lights glowing warmly and the door invitingly ajar, as if beckoning her inside. Recognizing the street, Isabella felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps this was all a dream, and her parents were safe after all. She approached the house, her heart racing as she stepped inside. As she entered, she was met by the sight of her parents, and tears welled in her eyes. She rushed to them, enveloping them in a tight embrace. Aimi, her mother, noticed her tears and asked if something was wrong. Kaito, her father, expressed concern, wondering if someone at school had upset her. Isabella reassured them that she was simply relieved to see them safe. Her mother questioned why she would think otherwise, and Isabella, sniffing back her emotions, caught a whiff of something delicious. Kaito informed her that dinner was ready, inviting her to join them. Isabella hesitated for a moment, wanting to hug them once more. They obliged, and in that warm embrace, she felt a sense of safety. However, The moment was interrupted as her parents gently urged her to wake up. Isabella's heart sank as she realized they were asking her to let go. She clung to them tighter, pleading for them not to leave her again. But as she held them, they began to dissolve into sparks, and the scene shifted to a memory from 12 years prior. Young Isabella fell to her knees, overwhelmed by a surge of anger and sadness as she screamed out for her parents, the pain of loss consuming her. Isabella's eyes shot open, tears streaming down her face as she gasped for breath. It had been a nightmare. Looking around, she found herself in a room she didn't recognize. Confused, she stood up, adjusting her bedclothes before glancing out the window. She realized she was still in Tengu City, but the location remained a mystery. Closing the curtains, she noticed a mirror and approached it. With determination, she activated her boosted gear, feeling an unfamiliar strength coursing through her. The pain that had once plagued her body seemed to have vanished, but the memories remained vivid. Rubbing her hand over her neck, she felt a reminder of the one who had caused her suffering. Isabella's aura began to manifest, the room vibrating with her energy, causing the mirror to crack under the pressure. Anger surged within her as she vowed to make the one responsible pay for the pain they had inflicted on her life. Taking a deep breath, she reminded herself to remain calm, knowing she would have her chance for revenge. With a snap of her fingers, the damage around her repaired itself. She needed to discover who lived in this place, so she left the room, determined to uncover the truth. Isabella paused as she noticed a note on the table. It read, "To Isabella-san. If you are reading this, then good morning. You are probably wondering where you are, but don't worry, you are currently staying at our home, the Itsuka household. Elliot-san and Karen-san told us that you could stay here, and they will bring in the items you need as soon as you tell them. You are also asked to remain in the house under Karen-san's orders until at least the afternoon. There is breakfast downstairs, and you can also prepare lunch if you are able to cook. Dinner may need to be prepared as well since Oniai-chan will be coming later, and we should be home around 5:30 p.m. The doctors also left prescribed medicine for you, along with instructions, which you can find downstairs in a notepad. I hope you enjoy your stay at the Itsuka household. Until then." From Coterie, Isabella thought about her mother's protectiveness but decided to comply. She felt hungry and made her way downstairs. Upon reaching the kitchen, she announced her intent to have breakfast, then opened the fridge. The chill hit her, but she had felt colder before. She examined the contents: chicken, eggs, butter, leftover rice, cabbage, lettuce, spring onions, shallots, ginger, thyme, rosemary, basil, beans, potatoes, fish, bacon, hot dogs, ham, milk, pork, beef, and an unfamiliar item labeled Wagyu. She also noted various cheeses. After closing the fridge, Isabella opened the cupboards to check the dry goods. She found flour, cocoa powder, baking soda, baking powder, salt, pepper, and a substance labeled MSG. She was curious about MSG and received a brief explanation about its use in cooking. Isabella noted the spices available: chili powder, coriander, turmeric, cinnamon, cloves, paprika, and garlic. She realized she could create many dishes but would need to visit the store later. Checking the clock, she saw it was 8:16 a.m. She planned to train a bit, rest, eat, take a bath, and then watch TV, all while remembering her cooking responsibilities. Meanwhile, before Isabella woke up, in the Itsuka household at 5:30 a.m., Ruriko spoke to Shido. She expressed her desire to share something important before she left for space. She mentioned the training he was doing to make spirits fall in love with him and revealed that she had started seeing him differently. Ruriko asked Shido to see her not just as a little sister but as a woman. Shido chose to affirm her feelings, and Ruriko thanked him, expressing her love and the idea of distance dating while she was on Jupiter. Shido, despite his tired appearance, felt accomplished as the scene transitioned to the opening credits. Location: Tengu City. Date? Time? A part of the city was engulfed in flames as a girl ran through the chaos, calling out for her parents. She stopped abruptly upon seeing a couple nearby. "Origami!" she exclaimed, her eyes widening as a bright, star-like figure illuminated the scene. Suddenly, a flash of light enveloped them. Origami gasped, her eyes shooting wide open as she sat up, holding her head. Rain moved closer to Hyoudou, gently brushing her hand near his ear, while he wore a silly expression on his face. Kotori interrupted, asking what Hyoudou was doing, reminding him that they were about to start the next phase of training, practice. Hyoudou was taken aback, wondering what kind of practice they were referring to. Tammy approached Hyoudou, curious about what he wanted to discuss. Kotori urged Hyoudou to stop hesitating and to express his feelings. She reminded him that they were training him to win the affection of the spirits. If he couldn't even approach a human girl, what chance did he have with a spirit like Isabella, who had the power to cause a spacequake? Isabella sneezed, sensing someone was talking about her. Drake confirmed her suspicion and advised her to take anti-allergy medicine, but to be cautious not to overdo it. Hyoudou sighed, expressing that he didn't want to be in this situation. Kotori suggested starting with a simple compliment to make things easier. Hyoudou nervously complimented Tammy on her cute outfit, which made her blush with delight. Encouraged by Kotori, Hyoudou continued to praise her, but soon realized he had gone overboard. Tammy asked if she could leave, and Rain noted that they had no other choice but to proceed. Hyoudou took a deep breath and confessed that he had started to enjoy school more since Tammy became his homeroom teacher. He expressed his feelings, leading to a surprised reaction from her. Tammy was taken aback and insisted that they couldn't be together like that, though she was pleased to hear how he felt. Hyoudou declared his seriousness about wanting to marry her, which left Tammy stunned. As she processed his words, a pink aura surrounded her, and she playfully questioned if he understood the implications of their age difference. Tammy excitedly proposed meeting her parents, envisioning a future together, but Hyoudou panicked and apologized, realizing he wasn't ready for such commitments. He quickly ran past her, leaving her dreams unfulfilled. Kotori commented on how ambitious Tammy was, while Hyoudou communicated through his earpiece, expressing his disbelief at the situation. In a sudden turn, Hyoudou bumped into Origami, who was unfazed by the encounter. Kotori saw this as a perfect opportunity to involve her in Hyoudou's training. Hyoudou hesitated, but Kotori insisted he compliment Origami. He awkwardly told her she looked good in her uniform, to which she replied that it was simply their school uniform. Kotori scolded Hyoudou for not being more original with his praise, but Drake reminded her to be careful with her words. Hyoudou, feeling the pressure, tried to express that he had known Origami for a long time and was happy to be in the same class as her. Origami echoed his sentiments, and Hyoudou awkwardly admitted to having a habit of sniffing her gym uniform after school, which led to a moment of confusion between them. After a brief silence, Hyoudou nervously asked if Origami would like to go out with him. She surprised him by saying she wouldn't mind, leading to further misunderstanding about their intentions. As they navigated their conversation, an alert for a spacequake interrupted them. Origami had to leave, and Hyoudou urged her to wait. Kotori reminded Hyoudou that they needed to head to the Fraxinus immediately. Hyoudou learned that the princess was expected to appear at Raisin High School, and preparations were being made to handle the situation. Meanwhile, at the Itsuka household, Isabella enjoyed her green tea after a workout, but her moment of peace was shattered by the impending spacequake. Drake warned her about the disturbance, but Isabella was frustrated that her plans were interrupted by something beyond her control. As she vented her anger, she received a call from Kotori, who was clearly nervous to speak with her. "Hold on a sec." Isabella cleared her throat and asked Kotori what was going on. Drake noted the sudden change in attitude. Kotori requested Isabella to come up to the Fraxinus. Isabella hesitated, recalling she had been told not to leave the house until the afternoon and doubted her mother would allow her to go. Kotori reassured her that they had already spoken to Elliot and Karen, who agreed to let her come, emphasizing that they needed her on standby in case something happened. Isabella found this unexpected but agreed to change and come over. After the call ended, Drake prompted Isabella about entering Balance Breaker, but she decided against it for now, wanting to avoid being noticed by AST and Dim. Acknowledged that Dim had been watching her since she woke up, but she was determined not to let them predict her moves. Drake encouraged her to get ready, as they were waiting for her. Isabella changed into her outdoor clothing, expressing her fondness for her outfit. Drake teased her about missing all the clothes they had for her, but Isabella playfully insisted she loved them. With a sense of excitement, they prepared to leave. As Isabella flew higher, approaching the Fraxinus, she suddenly stopped, sensing someone nearby. A voice acknowledged her awareness and revealed itself as Ellen Mira Mathers, who had followed her. Ellen expressed her intent to confront Isabella for what happened 12 years ago. Isabella reminded Ellen that she had attacked her first when she was just a child, and Ellen seemed surprised that Isabella remembered her name. Isabella acknowledged the challenge but offered Ellen a chance to fight another day, warning her that she did not want this battle. Ellen brandished her weapon, an advanced version of the anti-spirit laser blade, declaring it would spill Isabella's blood. Isabella admired the weapon, excitedly asking Dreig if he was ready. Ellen questioned Isabella's sanity, but Dreig revealed himself, prompting Ellen to look at Isabella's left arm, where the boosted gear was visible. Ellen was taken aback, and Dreig informed Isabella that Ascalon was ready, urging her to defeat Ellen. With enthusiasm, Isabella activated her boosted gear, transforming her appearance. A sword emerged from the boosted gear, shining brightly before settling into a more traditional look, suitable for Japan. Isabella was thrilled with the sword's weight and prepared to engage Ellen in battle. Ellen took a stance, determined to win this time. Isabella mirrored her stance, and the tension in the air was palpable. As they prepared to clash, a plane flew overhead, but their focus remained on each other. The silence was broken as they both charged forward, engaging in a fierce exchange of blows. Ellen remarked on Isabella's skill with a sword, despite her usual preference for hand-to-hand combat. As they fought, their speed increased, each waiting for an opening. Isabella seized her chance and struck, causing Ellen to stumble. Determined to end the fight quickly, Isabella switched to martial arts, delivering a powerful punch and a roundhouse kick that sent Ellen to the ground. After confirming Ellen was knocked out, Isabella sighed in relief, aware that she could have ended Ellen's life but chose not to, believing she would eventually change her views on spirits. With a sense of purpose, Isabella decided to move on and stop some AST members, disappearing in a flash. Meanwhile, at Raisin High, a part of the school had been destroyed, leaving a crater in the yard. Kotori urged Shido to consider himself lucky, as the CR unit was not equipped for indoor combat. She emphasized that he was the only one who could help the spirit, just as Isabella would. Shido recalled a sad expression on Isabella's face and resolved not to let her feel that way again. Kotori encouraged Shido to have confidence, explaining that talking to the spirit and making her fall in love was the only way to subdue her. As Shido entered the building, Kotori assured him that the crew of the Fraxinus would assist him in any situation. She humorously introduced various crew members, each with their own quirks and experiences in love. Shido climbed the stairs of the ruined Raisin High and spotted the spirit, who prepared to attack him. A barrier was activated, causing an explosion nearby, but Shido remained unharmed. He called out to the spirit, trying to calm her down, but she was on high alert. Just then, another voice warned him to stop, threatening his life if he did not comply. The princess looked back at Shido, uncertain of what to do. As if time had stopped moving. The princess wondered what was happening. A voice informed her that the boy in front of her was being guarded by a powerful individual, one that even she could not defeat. Ignoring the warning would lead to dire consequences. The princess gulped, understanding the gravity of the situation, and decided she would not harm the boy. Time resumed its flow, and the princess demanded to know who he was. Shido began to respond, but Kotori interrupted him, alerting the team that an anomaly in the spirit's mental state had been detected. The analyzer AI was processing the data, and options would soon be displayed. The AI mimicked Shido's voice, presenting 3 choices: to claim he was there to save her, to say he was just an innocent passerby, or to suggest that before asking for someone else's name, she should reveal her own. The crew voted on what Shido should say, and the majority favored the third option. Kotori noted that this choice was logical and would give Shido control over the conversation. The princess reiterated her question, demanding to know who he was. Shido, feeling the pressure, declared that he was Itsuka Shido, a student at the school, and insisted he had no intention of harming her. The princess recognized him from a previous encounter, recalling their meeting in the city. She lowered her arm, dispersing the energy ball she had prepared. However, she quickly grabbed Shido by the head, accusing him of lying about his intentions. She looked at him with sadness, prompting Shido to wonder why she regarded him that way. He insisted that not every human wished her harm. The princess, however, expressed her distrust, recalling how every human she had encountered had wished her dead. Shido reassured her that he meant no harm and asked what she wanted from him. The princess demanded to know why he was there, and Shido hesitated, considering his options. Kotori advised him that based on her previous reaction, he should go with the first option, to meet her. Shido nervously stated that he was there to meet her, prompting the princess to ask why. As he contemplated his response, Kotori and the others encouraged him to be straightforward. Shido, feeling the pressure, was about to say something inappropriate when Isabella intervened telepathically, guiding him to say he came to talk. He expressed that he didn't care what they discussed, but there was one thing he wanted her to know. Kotori urged him to calm down, and Shido declared that he would not reject her. The princess was taken aback, questioning his sincerity. He promised he would never reject her, even swearing on his life. The princess, skeptical, turned away, dismissing his words as foolishness. Meanwhile, on a rooftop, Isabella and Drake shared a moment of laughter, amused by the unfolding events. Isabella expressed disbelief at what had just happened, while Drake joined in the laughter. Back at Raisin High, the princess acknowledged that Shido was the first human to attempt a conversation with her. She decided to use him to gather information about the world, deeming it important. Shido, grateful, asked for her name, but she revealed she had none. She requested Shido to give her a name. Kotori and the crew debated possible names, with Isabella suggesting that Shido should choose one. After some thought, Isabella communicated telepathically with Shido, guiding him to name her Toka and to think of a suitable surname. Shido agreed, and Toka smiled, pleased with her new name. However, just as they were settling into their conversation, bullets suddenly rained down upon them, but miraculously, none found their mark. Isabella expressed her frustration at the interruption. Why did you have to ruin such a beautiful moment? Isabella appeared, her hands clenched tightly. She revealed the bullets she had been holding, dropping them to the ground. She suggested that everyone should just go home and forget that this had ever happened. Origami, determined, refused to let Isabella escape. She exerted more force, insisting that this time would be different. Isabella, with a smile, acknowledged Origami's efforts but pointed out that she was far from the level of other wizards. She sensed something within Origami that she had yet to discover, questioning the fierce hatred directed at her. With a casual push of her finger, she demonstrated her strength, causing Origami to struggle against the blade. Origami declared that her goal was to eliminate the spirits. Isabella noted the depth of Origami's hatred, suggesting that it was so strong that she would rather face death than befriend a spirit. She tightened her grip on the blade, warning Origami that she was merely holding back her true strength. In a swift motion, Isabella broke the blade and incapacitated Origami with a punch to her gut. Isabella tossed Origami aside, dismissing her as an unworthy opponent, and reminded the others that this was the second time the AST had failed. She warned them that there were spirits even the AST or DM could not defeat and suggested they leave unless they wanted to end up in a hospital for a long time. The AST members looked to their captain, who nodded in agreement, and they departed. Isabella then noticed a small Toka attempting to sneak away. She approached, assuring Toka that she meant no harm. Turning her attention to Shido, she informed him that she would have a word with him and the crew later, leaving him trembling. Isabella reminded them of her need to prepare dinner before vanishing in an instant, leaving Toka and Shido bewildered. Shido expressed concern about Isabella giving a lecture, while Kotori, through the earpiece, confirmed his worries. Toka giggled, commenting on how Shido's friend was logical yet strange. Shido agreed, explaining that Isabella was a spirit who had been adopted as a child. Toka was surprised that a spirit could be raised as a child, and Shido admitted he didn't know the full story. As they continued their conversation, Shido asked Toka what she was. She replied that she didn't know, only that she had appeared in this world without any memories. She recalled her first encounter with Shido and how she had emerged into a world filled with mechanical beings. Kotori interrupted through the earpiece, urging Shido to make a move now that Toka's mood was favorable. Shido panicked, unsure of what to do, while Kotori suggested he ask her out on a date. Toka, confused, inquired about Shido's mumbling, but he quickly dismissed her concerns. Kotori and the Fraxinus crew chanted for Shido to ask Toka out, and he reluctantly complied, asking if she would go on a date with him. Toka, curious, asked what a date was, and Shido explained it as a way to meet someone. She agreed to think about it, and as darkness fell, they discussed the possibility of meeting again. Later, at the Fraxinus, Isabella gathered the crew, explaining why she was there instead of having dinner. She had observed their teamwork and, to their surprise, announced that they had passed her assessment. She praised their unique traits and how they handled the situation, giving them a score of 8.4 out of the crew celebrated, grateful for Isabella's acknowledgement as she prepared dinner for them, leading to a joyful evening. In Isabella's room, she was restless in her sleep when a mysterious voice called to her, urging her to awaken the beast within. As the voice grew more insistent, Isabella's breathing intensified until she jolted awake, drenched in sweat and confused about the source of the voice. To be continued. As the title suggests, there are more delays, and Shido felt the weight of the world on his shoulders. He needed to finish the chapter, but time was not on his side. He reflected on the reasons for the delay, feeling a mix of frustration and sadness. Shido had been caught up in gaming, which consumed much of his free time. School had just started, and the pressures of being in the 11th grade made it difficult to balance studying and writing. The allure of various games, including Genshin Impact and Tower of Fantasy, only added to the distractions. He found himself needing to think carefully about certain lines and parts of the chapters, aiming for quality over cliché. Despite facing personal struggles, including moments of deep sadness, Shido was grateful for the support of his friends and family. They helped him through tough times, and he cherished the moments spent with them. He was determined to write as much as he could within his limited time, reassuring his readers that he would not abandon the story. After a long break, Shido returned to his writing, acknowledging the hectic nature of life. He had been studying for tests and dealing with personal matters, including attending a funeral. Yet, he remained committed to the story, hoping for understanding from his readers. With that, Shido resumed the tale, picking up where he left off. Location: Raisin High School, damaged. Time: 8:30 a.m. Shido pondered the surreal situation he found himself in. It felt unreal, as if the events of yesterday had been a dream. He picked up a piece of the chalkboard that read, Toka, recalling his encounter with her. Suddenly, a familiar voice called out to him. Toka appeared, her presence brightening the atmosphere. She playfully scolded him for taking too long and reminded him of the date he had invited her on. Shido was taken aback, trying to process her enthusiasm. He realized she was dressed inappropriately for their outing and suggested she change. Toka, with a mischievous grin, tore up a picture of origami in her school uniform and magically transformed her outfit to match. Now dressed in her Raisin High uniform, she was ready for their adventure. Shido felt a mix of exasperation and amusement as Toka urged him to hurry. Location: Itsuka household. Time: 9:30 a.m. In a dimly lit room, Isabella lay on her bed, feeling overwhelmed. She was lost in her thoughts, unable to shake the feelings she had for Shido. Despite her inner turmoil, she hoped to find clarity soon. Meanwhile, Toka pressed her face against the glass of a bakery display, captivated by the kinako pan. Her excitement was palpable as she bombarded Shido with questions about the treats. After leaving the bakery with a bag of goodies, Toka eagerly anticipated tasting the kinako pan, her eyes sparkling with delight. As Shido handed her the treat, Toka took a bite and gasped in amazement. She couldn't believe something so delicious wasn't part of a date. Shido chuckled at her enthusiasm, realizing that her joy was infectious. Just then, the enticing smell of grilled hot dogs caught Toka's attention, and she dashed off, leaving Shido to shake his head in amusement. A crowd began to gather, and Toka, still caught up in her excitement, wondered if they were preparing for an all-out attack. Shido couldn't help but smile at the chaos that surrounded them, knowing that their adventure was just beginning. In that case, Toka decided she would clear the entire area before the mecha team arrived. She focused a small orb of energy on her index finger. Shido, feeling anxious, urged her to wait. Toka, with a hot dog still in her mouth, insisted that he not interfere. Shido reminded her that nobody there intended to harm her. Toka dissipated her energy orb and finished her hot dog. Nearby, a child called out to his mother, excitedly announcing that he had thrown away his trash. The mother praised him for his good behavior. Toka, enjoying her meal, ate 2 more hot dogs before discarding the sticks. She then returned to Shido, seeking a head pat from him. Toka made a playful sound, and Shido, flustered, obliged her request. Toka giggled, expressing that she was beginning to understand what a date was, although Shido corrected her, saying she was not entirely right. Toka found the concept of a date complex and was curious about what else they could do together. Behind them, 3 girls from Shido's school observed the scene. Ai, the blonde, questioned why Shido was with a girl, while Mai wondered if he was cheating on Tanamachi. Mi, with dark blue hair, found the situation gross. In the corner, Origami noted that Toka was a spirit but was puzzled as to why there hadn't been a spacequake. She requested an observation device, indicating her intent to monitor the situation. Back with Toka and Shido, Toka exclaimed how delicious human food was, marveling at its taste. Shido asked her what she had done after their conversation the previous day. Toka mentioned she was surprised that the one in red had protected them and was relieved that the mecha teams had retreated after her appearance. She recalled a moment when Isabella had held back the AST members, expressing that without her, they would have continued their attacks. Shido was shocked at the idea of Toka disappearing, and she explained that she would go to a different world, which was dark, and she would fall asleep there. Shido inquired if she returned to their world upon waking, to which Toka replied that she was often drawn back against her will. Shido realized that the spacequakes were not caused by the spirits but were unintentional accidents. He pressed Toka for more information about her arrival, but she dismissed his questions, suggesting they look for more delicious food instead. Suddenly, a notification indicated a high entity match percentage, and a satellite branded AST observed Toka and Shido. Origami, monitoring through her device, noted that the spirit was not wearing an astral dress, seeing it as an opportunity to attack, but was cautioned against taking rash actions in the city. At the Itsuka household, Isabella was struggling to maintain her composure as her phone buzzed with missed calls. She was in her balance breaker state, her appearance altered with one eye green and the other gold. Despite her efforts to sleep, the persistent buzzing continued, indicating a total of 4 missed calls. Toka, filled with curiosity, asked Shido about their surroundings, expressing her desire to investigate. Tanamachi appeared, teasing Shido about his company and expressing envy over his situation. Shido, feeling overwhelmed, tried to explain the events that had unfolded. Tanamachi, eager to help, handed Shido some money, wishing him luck as he left. Shido entered a fancy restaurant where he was greeted by a familiar waitress, Rain. She informed him that the princess had slipped through the radar and was seated at Toka's table. Toka, eager to order, looked at the menu and asked Shido which items were suitable for a date. Kodori, another familiar face, suggested the special overkill course, which promised an abundance of food. Toka was thrilled by the meal, declaring it extraordinary and delicious, and wondered if this was the date they had discussed. As they enjoyed their meal, Kodori hinted at increasing the chances of Toka falling in love with Shido and instructed him to head south of the station after their meal, leaving Shido puzzled about what awaited them there. Meanwhile, in the bathroom of the Itsuka household, Isabella was grappling with her feelings, her face flushed as she tried to regain control. Dreig, her inner dragon, acknowledged the reality of her situation, recalling past experiences that left him shaken. Isabella, determined to distract herself, decided to prepare a meal, promising to make something truly mind-blowing as she dashed to the kitchen. Isabella was determined to show her capabilities. She declared that she would make her opponent eat their words, filled with confidence. Dreig, her companion, was taken aback by her boldness. As Isabella prepared lunch for herself and Drake, she had regained her self-control after a brief moment of heightened emotions. No one had been harmed during this. Meanwhile, a voice announced the completion of an analysis, revealing the shop type as E. With a command, buildings began to shift downwards, making way for various food stalls. Workers emerged to set up the stalls, and colorful banners were raised, welcoming visitors to Ratatoskr. On the other side of the bridge, Toka was captivated by the sights. She pointed excitedly at some fish swimming in the river, marveling at their speed. Shido, her companion, warned her about the potential danger, but Toka was too enthralled to listen. She noticed a particularly fast red fish and expressed her amazement, while Shido pondered its presence. Suddenly, confetti rained down on them as a voice congratulated them, revealing that they were the 100,000th visitors. As a reward, they were offered all-you-can-eat food for free. Vendors from the stalls greeted them enthusiastically, showcasing their dishes. Toka, filled with excitement, rushed toward the stalls, with Shido following closely behind, urging her to wait. In the background, Kawagoe was coordinating the vendors, urging them to get ready as the AST was also making their move. Rain expressed concern about the situation, but Kotori reassured her that she had kept the AST at bay and had backup ready. Just then Isabella appeared, looking pale and frightened. She admitted to Kotori that she regretted talking back to Drake. A flashback revealed her earlier confrontation with him inside the boosted gear. Isabella had expressed her frustration about the expectations placed on female dragons, wanting to prove her strength and protect her loved ones. Drake had warned her about her tone, and their argument escalated until darkness enveloped the area, leaving Isabella feeling fear and dominance from her brother. Back in the present, Isabella shivered as she recalled the encounter. Kotori offered her support and asked if she would be all right. Isabella assured her that she would be fine and inquired about her task. Kotori instructed her to keep watch over Toka and Shido from the rooftops, as the AST had discovered Toka's presence and would soon take action. Isabella agreed and mentioned sensing spirit energy from Shido. Kotori promised to explain everything in due time if Isabella shared her past. With a determined spirit, Isabella teleported outside the Fraxinus and flew to a nearby rooftop, preparing to test her abilities. Meanwhile, Kuzukabe contacted Origami, confirming their deployment plans. Back with Toka and Shido, Toka continued her food adventure, excitedly showing Shido the various dishes. Shido, though amused, felt a bit left out as Toka indulged in the free food. Toka noticed his lack of enthusiasm and questioned him, but Shido reassured her that he was having a good time too. Shido felt a bit uptight but reassured Toka that he was indeed having fun. Toka, with a small blush on her cheeks, took Shido's hand and suggested they eat together, declaring that it was what a date was all about. Shido, blushing slightly, agreed. They found themselves surrounded by vendors, and Toka excitedly urged Shido to follow her, to which he responded with enthusiasm. On the rooftops, Isabella and Drake observed the budding romance below, captivated by the scene. After a moment of silence, Isabella addressed Drake about their earlier conversation. Drake acknowledged her concerns, expressing that while he was worried for her safety, he understood she was old enough to make her own choices. Isabella apologized for not recognizing his intentions and for teasing him, leading to a heartfelt moment between the siblings as they shared their feelings. Meanwhile, a golden ball the size of a marble dropped onto the counter, catching the attention of the duo. Mikimoto congratulated them on winning entrance tickets to Dream Park, which Toka found intriguing. Hinako chimed in, emphasizing how incredible the place was. Shido, deep in thought, realized that Dream Park was actually a fancy hotel, which made him nervous. Toka, excited by the prospect, asked what they could do there, but Shido hesitated, feeling pressured. As they debated entering, a woman with brown hair approached them. Shido recognized her as Isabella, who greeted them warmly. She expressed her surprise at seeing Shido and introduced herself to Toka. Shido confirmed that Isabella was a friend who visited his home occasionally. Toka was pleased to meet her, and they exchanged a handshake. Isabella sensed Toka's raw energy and warned them about the hotel's restrictions for minors, advising them to leave. Isabella mentioned she would visit Shido later, and he thanked her for taking the time to talk. She encouraged them to go, reminding them of the rules. Toka, disappointed, protested about missing out on the date, but Shido gently pulled her away from the hotel, determined to find another adventure. Isabella was on a mission, having located her target and requesting an emergency combat device with specific coordinates. She swiftly retrieved the device from a nearby water fountain and equipped it. Observing from a rooftop, she noted the movements of the AST, realizing they were becoming more active and needed to be monitored closely. As she prepared for her next move, her partner Drake confirmed he was ready to assist. The duo continued their surveillance, while nearby vendors speculated about Isabella's actions, questioning why she had intervened with Shido and Toka at the hotel. Their curiosity was overshadowed by an unspoken fear that kept them silent. Kawagoe expressed disbelief at Shido's choices, wondering why he hadn't taken Toka inside the hotel. Kodori, with a knowing tone, remarked on the complexities of romantic pursuits, suggesting that Isabella's intervention was justified, especially in protecting minors from inappropriate situations. She noted that while Shido was methodical, Isabella was adaptable, capable of handling any scenario, whether in combat or personal matters. As rain began to fall unexpectedly, Rain pointed out the oddity of the clear sky moments before. Kodori saw the rain as an opportunity, while Isabella, concerned about her laundry, decided to return home quickly, promising to rejoin them soon. With civilians seeking shelter from the downpour, Shido and Toka entered an arcade, while Isabella made her way back to the Itsuka household, lamenting the sudden rain. Inside the arcade, Toka was filled with curiosity and excitement, mistakenly believing it to be a secret base for a mecha team. Shido reassured her, guiding her through the arcade. Toka's attention was captured by a Kinako Pan plushie, but her attempts to win it from the claw machine were unsuccessful. Frustrated, she called on Shido for help, who reminded her that success required strategy. Toka insisted on trying again for the plushie she desired, despite Shido suggesting an easier option. As Shido scanned the area, he spotted Nakatsugawa stuck upside down in the claw machine, prompting a mix of disappointment and amusement. Determined to help Toka, Shido devised a plan to coordinate their efforts on the claw machine. They paid for a turn and prepared to execute their strategy. As they waited for the right moment, tension built, but they maintained focus. When the claw moved into position, Shido signaled Toka to release the button, and they both held their breath, hoping for success as the claw descended toward the plushie. The fight was not over yet. Toka regained her composure, but the plushie had fallen onto the edge of where it should have landed. Shido walked away, feeling like the weakest link, but turned around when Toka yelled in frustration. She pleaded for the plushie to fall, expressing her determination alongside Shido. As the ground rumbled slightly, it was enough to push the plushie over, and both Shido and Toka smiled at each other, celebrating their small victory. They left the arcade and went to a cliffside, with the plushie in Toka's arms, gazing at the sunset over the city. Toka asked Shido what the plushie transformed into, to which he replied that trains didn't transform. Toka was curious if they combined, and Shido confirmed that they did in a way. Toka expressed how much fun she had that day, although she still wished they had gone to Dream Park. Shido suggested they forget about that. Toka then inquired about what a date really was, and Shido explained that it was when a guy and a girl went out to have fun. Toka realized that their day together qualified as a date, and she found the idea of dates to be really nice. Meanwhile, Kusakabe observed the scene through binoculars, noting the unusual occurrence of a spirit appearing without triggering a space quake. Origami, holding a sniper rifle, asked for permission to take a shot, but Kusakabe informed her that the higher-ups had not made a decision yet. Just then, they received clearance to snipe. Origami zoomed in on Toka, who was expressing her gratitude for the kindness of the humans she had encountered. Shido reassured Toka that no one had tried to harm her. Toka reflected on how beautiful the world was and expressed concern about her presence causing destruction. Shido insisted that she hadn't caused any harm that day and encouraged her to stay, offering to teach her everything she needed to know. Toka hesitated, worried about her safety and the unexpected challenges they might face, but Shido promised to take care of everything. Toka was touched by Shido's words, as most people viewed her as something to fear. He then gestured for her to hold his hand, which made her smile. Just as she reached out, Kusakabe calculated the range and conditions, and Origami pulled the trigger. Shido shouted Toka's name as the plushie was hit, and Toka fell back in shock. She was startled to see Shido collapse, having been injured while protecting her. Kusakabe called out to Origami, who was left stunned by the incident. In the Itsuka household, Isabella sensed something was wrong and rushed out, tracking Shido's aura. Toka approached Shido's fallen form, her tone shifting to sadness as she covered him with her coat. She expressed her despair, feeling that the world had denied her happiness. As dark clouds swirled above, Isabella noticed the change in the atmosphere and regretted not keeping watch. Toka transformed into her astral dress, dark purple lightning crackling around her. She summoned a throne and a sword, preparing to confront the one she held responsible for Shido's fate. Toka unleashed her magic, targeting Origami, who was still in shock. Toka confronted her, accusing her of killing Shido, filled with rage. Origami acknowledged her actions, and the tension escalated as Toka vowed that Origami deserved to face consequences for what she had done. Meanwhile, aboard the Fraxinus, the crew was alerted to a spacequake warning, realizing the urgency of the situation as Toka continued her assault on Origami, who remained shielded from the attacks. As Toka pressed on, a green light approached them at an alarming speed. Kusakabe and Origami noticed the situation, although Origami was still in shock from the recent events. Toka lowered her weapon and gazed at the increasingly bright green light approaching them. The light crashed near where Shido lay, creating clouds of dust that quickly dispersed to reveal the silhouette of an adult girl, Isabella, who wore a worried expression. Isabella called out for Shido, her voice filled with urgency. She gasped as she saw him lying in a pool of blood, her eyes widening in horror. Tears filled her eyes as she rushed toward him. Toka landed nearby and approached slowly. Isabella knelt beside Shido, her voice trembling as she asked what had happened. Draig, the spirit, assessed Shido's condition and informed them that he was on the brink of death, with only a small amount of spirit energy sustaining him. Isabella urged Draig to boost Shido's energy, and as she touched his hand, a green light enveloped him, slowly healing his fatal wound. She released his hand, her clothes stained with blood, and stood up, exuding an authoritative aura. Her voice commanded attention, halting everyone in their tracks. The pressure of her presence was overwhelming, making it impossible for them to move. Toka's weapon shattered under the weight of Isabella's aura. Isabella warned them about the dangers of confronting a dragon, emphasizing the pride and power of such beings, especially when enraged. As she spoke, her body glowed with a green light and a fiery red aura, signaling her transformation into her balance breaker state. Her appearance changed. Her hair now had orange streaks with yellow tips, and her eyes reflected the colors of her hair. Her astral dress also transformed, incorporating orange into its design. With a powerful step, Isabella cracked the ground beneath her, the force of her presence creating ripples in the sky. The surroundings shifted, transporting them to a different realm. Kusakabe was taken aback, while Toka struggled to move, overwhelmed by the pressure. Origami gasped at the intensity of the aura surrounding them. Isabella approached Toka, each step increasing the pressure and causing cracks to form in the ground. As she neared Toka, her expression shifted from menacing to sympathetic, and the pressure lessened. Isabella addressed Kusakabe, identifying herself as a different kind of being and offering him a chance to walk away. However, her glare intensified, causing Kusakabe to gasp for air. She made it clear that she would not tolerate harm to the innocent, whether intentional or accidental, and warned Kusakabe that he would be held responsible for the incident, as would his subordinate if he could not control her. With another powerful step, Isabella returned the realm to normal. Kusakabe complied with her demands, lifting Origami and leaving the area as Isabella dispersed her aura but remained in her transformed state. Isabella sighed and offered her hand to Toka, inviting her to stand. Toka expressed her gratitude and sorrow for not being able to protect Shido. Isabella reassured her that Shido had sacrificed himself to save her. As Isabella returned to her human appearance, Toka was surprised. Isabella acknowledged their previous encounters and turned her attention back to Hyoudou, who remained unconscious. Toka followed closely behind. Isabella listened carefully and detected Hyoudou's heartbeat, feeling relieved that he was still alive. She smiled at Toka, who teared up in response. Isabella then turned to leave, prompting Toka to ask where she was going. Isabella explained that she had things to attend to and needed to change her clothes, asking Toka to keep an eye on Hyoudou. Before departing, Isabella introduced herself, expressing her desire to be friends. In a flash of green light, she vanished, leaving Toka to wait for Hyoudou to awaken. After a few minutes, Hyoudou opened his eyes, seeing Toka looking at him with a smile. He asked what had happened, and Toka encouraged him to recall the events leading up to his unconsciousness. Hyoudou remembered everything, including the moment he was shot. Toka reassured him that she was fine and thanked him for saving her. Hyoudou felt a strange warmth coursing through him, a powerful sensation that had accompanied his unconsciousness. Toka mentioned that he had said something important while he was out. Hyoudou, realizing the significance of the moment, extended his hand to her, asking if she would take it and face their challenges together. Toka, moved to tears, accepted his hand, and he helped her to her feet. They embraced, sharing a moment of happiness. As they pulled away, they looked into each other's eyes, a blush creeping onto their faces. Slowly, they leaned in, their lips meeting in a gentle kiss, sealing the promise Hyoudou had made to Toka. Toka's astral dress began to disintegrate, bright purple particles swirling around as it vanished, leaving Toka exposed. Hyoudou and Toka pulled away from their kiss, both realizing the situation. Hyoudou quickly exclaimed that they needed to cover her up, while Toka urged him to hurry, worried that someone might see them. Hyoudou draped his jacket over Toka, both of them blushing from the moment they had just shared. With a snap of fingers, a pair of clothes appeared on the ground, accompanied by a note from Isabella, indicating that she had sent them at Kotori's request. Hyoudou smiled and thanked Isabella, then handed the clothes to Toka, who expressed her gratitude. As Toka changed into the clothes, Hyoudou respectfully turned away, feeling a mix of embarrassment and admiration for her. Once she was dressed, they decided to leave the area and head home. As they walked, Toka initiated a conversation, revealing that she had nowhere to go. Hyoudou reassured her that she could stay at his house, mentioning that his family would not mind. He explained that there were two others living with them, Isabella, whom Toka had already met, and his sister, Kotori, whom he believed Toka would like. Toka was curious about the girl they had encountered earlier that morning, and Hyoudou reassured her that Isabella was harmless, even joking about her immense power. Hyoudou's imagination briefly conjured a humorous image of Isabella as a fearsome figure, which made him shudder. Toka expressed her trust in Hyoudou and her willingness to get along with Isabella, acknowledging the potential danger of her power. Hyoudou mentioned that he still needed to ask his family for permission regarding Toka's stay. Toka pointed out Isabella at a nearby grocery store, and they approached her. Isabella greeted them with curiosity, and Toka explained their presence. Hyoudou then asked Isabella if Toka could live with them. Initially, Isabella's serious demeanor made them worry she would refuse, but she surprised them by enthusiastically agreeing, even suggesting that Toka could share a room with her. Both Hyoudou and Toka exchanged smiles and thumbs up, feeling relieved and happy. As they continued their conversation on the way home, Isabella informed Kotori about the situation, and Kotori approved as well. Everything seemed to be falling into place. Later that night, a fierce battle unfolded. Isabella was locked in combat with a formidable opponent who taunted her, claiming that her struggles were futile and inviting her to join him in his quest for power. Isabella defiantly declared that she would never join him, vowing to fight back. The battle raged on, chaotic and intense, but ultimately, Isabella found herself defeated, bloodied, and unable to heal her wounds. Her opponent gloated over her defeat, asking for any last words. Isabella, despite her condition, declared that there would always be someone to stop him. He dismissed her words and struck her down. In the Itsuka household, Isabella awoke suddenly, panting and drenched in sweat, her heart racing. She looked around and saw Toka sleeping on the floor with the futon she had provided. Relieved that it was just a dream, She wiped her brow with a towel, but even in her exhaustion, sleep eluded her. She called out to Drake, who groggily responded. Isabella asked if she could join him for the rest of the night, and he agreed. Grateful, she closed her eyes, hoping for a peaceful night ahead, uncertain of what the future would hold. To be continued. Isabella felt a rush of emotions as she watched Hyoudou sustain a significant injury during their latest encounter. The memory of her past haunted her, reminding her of the losses she had endured. She couldn't bear the thought of losing someone close to her again. This fear fueled her reaction, amplifying her concern for Hyoudo's well-being. As she rushed to his side, her heart raced. She could see the pain etched on his face, and it made her feel helpless. The world around them faded as she focused solely on him, determined to support him through this moment of vulnerability. Hyoudou, despite his injury, reassured her with a gentle smile, trying to ease her worries. He understood the weight of her past and the fears that came with it. Their bond had grown stronger through their shared experiences, and he wanted to remind her that he was still there, fighting alongside her. With a newfound resolve, Isabella vowed to protect Hyoudou and ensure that he would not face any more hardships alone. She would stand by him, no matter the challenges that lay ahead. Together, they would navigate the trials of their world, drawing strength from each other as they faced whatever came next.